My name is Max Stein, and that gum you like is coming back in style.
I'm the Megabuck. I really love video games.
My name is Raph, and I also love video games.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast. Where we discuss treasured video games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
I'm
Warning,
so glad
the
you
Game
abandoned
Treasure
that voice.
Podcast is...
The best part is that that's like the best David Lynch impression I've
that
ever
anyone's
heard.
ever done. The Game Treasure
Yes.
Podcast is not for children or anyone with a brain. This week, I was doing that spot on David Lynch impression.
Really?
I'm doing that impression because a couple weeks ago, as of the day of this recording, famed, infamous, good, bad director David Lynch
Amazing
passed away. We missed we missed a watch along just to watch some of his first film, Grandma. Isn't that what it's called?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh,
This
Grandma.
It was cool, but it was also weird.
Yeah,
I mean,
much like all of his stuff, it was
Right, yeah.
both bad and good at the same time.
you know, I'll just say it. I think he just doesn't give a fuck about what, or didn't give
I
a
don't
fuck
think he
about what
does either.
anybody thought about his. It was
No.
whatever his art was, and I think that's admirable.
All
I
right.
guess, you know.
So today we're going to be talking about surreal video games. Games that bend our minds. Surrealism is an art and cultural movement that developed in Europe after the very, very sweet hug fest that was World War I. It allowed artists to express themselves in new psychological, dreamlike landscapes that no one had done before. But let's see. We don't have a retro zone today. We don't have any news. So let's just go ahead and jump right in, shall we?
Yeah, I'm
And I
going to
feel
do
like
a
there's
giant
no-
MagFest recap at the end of this episode anyway.
There's
So
no better way to jump right into this than I simply must make us watch it once again. Let's go ahead and watch David Lynch's
Cool.
Yes.
PlayStation commercial once more.
Hell
Hey, what
yes.
do you say?
we saw this
love
on a
this
watch
thing. Yeah,
along
let's
a
do it
couple months
again.
ago, right?
Let's just do it. Let's
It's
do
so
it. I love
fucking
this
good.
thing. Yeah. Mhm.
Not all, not waking, not sleeping.
Where are we?
The duck.
What a lovely cast of characters.
Welcome to the third place.
That
is
so incredible. Every time we Bambi.
Did they?
That is so. So, what did we learn about surrealist art by watching that, gentlemen?
We learned that David Lynch can't even count to 2 because he thinks that the PlayStation 2 is the third place for some reason.
Did you say place station 3? No, what? I'm gonna do that.
It's just, like he had a thing somewhere in his head, and
Yeah.
he's like, "This is what I've got to put on
Mhm.
screen here."
Yeah.
It has nothing to do. Do you think he ever actually even saw what a PlayStation looked like? Do you think he
That
even
was going to
knew what he
be
was
my
making
next
the commercial
question.
for?
I was just about to ask, do you even think David Lynch knew what video games were? No, I mean,
I really
David,
don't.
we want you to do a commercial for the PlayStation 2. What is that? It's a video games console. These kids have it at their house. It's like a little black box that lets you play video games. You seen Crash Bandicoot before? I have no idea what you are talking about. Just listen, we're going to give you a bunch of money. Can you just do whatever you want? And then at the end of it, we're going to say PlayStation 2. And that check cleared all the same, baby. That shit rocks. That shit is the most David Lynch shit ever. It's so stupid.
Like when the duck looks at the camera and just
Ooh.
starts talking in that fucked up voice, I'm like, this is straight out of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight out of Twin Peaks.
Welcome to the third place. The PS2.
Yeah.
He basically made one story, and everything, if you watch his movies and his show, it's all the same story, and it's all about how electricity is evil, and the spirits of people get trapped in what is it, the ceiling fans of
Sure.
family homes, and
doorknobs.
he's a trip, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
basically, surreal art is like,
Yeah.
classic ones from school are like Dali and shit. It's like depicts dream-like things that defy logic. It's like it was as a direct like whiplash to the horrors of war, basically.
Right.
And it doesn't have to make any sense. In fact, it's mostly nonsensical. As we just watched it, it certainly felt dreamlike, and meaning wise, I feel like David Lynch is the only one that knows the answer to his movies truly. Shorts, which leads me to today's topic, surreal video games. I'm going to go first because
Perfect.
I am going to talk about I think my favorite game of all time. Today, I am going to be talking about a 2021 video game that I played entirely on acid. It is Dan Mullen's masterpiece video game, ? Inscription.
Oh, yes.
Let's
please.
dude.
Kick-ass game.
This game, I'm too tired to bust out the snob hat right now. I didn't prepare very much for this episode. I'm not going to lie to you. Circumstances has not allowed me to. But Inscription, I'm going to try to explain this without doing any spoilers. Because I'll say this. I'm going to talk about this game again when we do our top 5 favorite game episodes, like on episode number 100 or something. We each go around the table and talk about our 5 games. So, and this game is like, oh man, you have to play it. Like this game, the pandemic is going on. I bought it because I watched Markiplier play it. I had him subscribed on YouTube.
That's a YouTuber.
That's a very popular YouTube you may have heard of, and I watched, pretty much all of his videos every week, and then this one comes out, and I watched it for about 30 seconds before I said, I can't watch any more of this. I need to play this game right now because it basically the game begins. I won't even. The game begins and there's a character that's speaking to you pretty much immediately, and just the tone of voice, quote unquote, that he has. That is to say, the Animal Crossing meeps that he makes are very disturbing low pitch. That sounds
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good, actually.
Pretty good.
It's hopefully you're listening to this with headphones on, because this is a game that I think you need to play with headphones on, because it sets a very dreamlike atmosphere for you to be in. But yeah, Heshi, the character that's talking to you in the beginning of this game, has this horrible scrolling text sound, and the game sort of begins in a way that I won't spoil, but it's right off the bat a puzzle, a curious like, what do what now? You're in this room with this guy and you're playing a board game with him, seemingly.
Yeah.
You don't know that at first. You're being told that you're like through a disembodied voice that you're playing a game, and then after you die or the first time or after something happens, you eventually look up. Your perspective tilts up and you are playing a game with a person who's sitting across from you, and they're just like a dark set of eyeballs sitting in the darkness, and it's pretty horrifying. Later in the game, in that section of the game, you realize that you can stand up at one point, and not only can you get up, so the game is, that's an immediate subversion as soon as, because games certainly have disembodied voices talking in them all the time. So when you realize that the disembodied voice is not disembodied, there's a body there, immediately you're like, ooh, whoa, that's sort of like breaking the rules, as they're sort of setting this sort of like illogical landscape for me to set in. You finish this first section of the game. I hope that's not spoiling too much. You finish this first section of the game, and then I'll just say that you something happens that certainly made me stand up from my computer and like physically cover my mouth with my hand. Again, I will reiterate that this was during COVID and lots of microdosing going on for me. So yes, this was fantastic experience that I would suggest for anyone to do is to take psychedelic drugs and play this game in particular.
The Game Trader podcast is not condoned taking drugs.
Just me. It's so you get treated with this really strange moment that happens, and then there is a shift in gameplay. I don't think that's too spoilery to say.
I don't.
No,
I think a lot of people did not. I think people that only played Act 1 thought that was the whole game, and that's
I
part of
think
where
so,
it gets
too.
you.
Yeah.
So there's a shift in gameplay. If you're not enjoying that gameplay mode, don't worry.
Yeah.
There's a shift in gameplay that coincides with I'll call it in universe reasoning as to why there is a gameplay and tonal shift into the game. And in doing so, the game is very meta, obviously, right? Anything that acknowledges its own existence, like Deadpool being like, I'm in a movie, right? So this game does that as well. But then it sets an atmosphere that's so eerie because I'm just going to spoil at least this. There are like characters that are lying to you about the game, but which is not common in video games. Normally when a character says they're helping you, they are. It's very uncommon for someone to misguide you as to I don't know. So
kind of like Undertale. A lot of people, the same vibes you get from that, right?
Exactly. I haven't beaten Undertale, or else I would have brought this to the discussion. But it's the same sort of thing where, in Undertale, there's, not to spoil this, but there's a moment where you think you're saving the game one way, but what you don't know is that the game is saving itself without your knowledge. Okay, so this is a thing that adds to this surrealist atmosphere, because it's like maybe not a dream, but like a nightmare. I'm going to cut to just bullet point some of the more surreal things that happen in the game. So a couple shifts later, you end up being in an environment that's very similar to the environment that you start in, but it's all futuristic. And in the beginning of the game, you're in like an old log cabin, and but in the new futuristic layout, you're also imprisoned by a person who's like lying to you and deceiving you.
It's fun.
This person is a computer instead of like a tree, which I hope I'm not spoiling this too much for anyone that hasn't played it, if you are listening. And so as a computer person, he knows stuff about your computer. About your computer,
right, about your YouTube. I'm looking at you about
so
your computer.
He knows about the secret file that you have hidden away in your pictures folder.
Oh boy!
I personally had never played a game that I don't know. I mean, we've all played it here, and so you guys understand what I'm saying when it's just like there's a moment where a character asks you to wager a file on your computer. I don't know what he does when you play him in console, but he basically says he's going to delete the file that you wagered if you lose the game. And it's like a thing where it's like you're not certain whether the game is telling the truth or not.
Win32.exe.
Honestly,
and I've just never. And the thing is that you're right. It's the bigger file, like the better it is, like the higher chance you have of winning this thing that you're doing. I won't spoil it, but it's just like, I don't know. I had never played a game with a developer who is so set on making you understand that you're playing a video game, but then making the video game feel haunted.
Oh,
so
that's a really good way to put it.
It feels like you found a haunted game in the woods.
Yeah. For a reason that I won't say, it really feels like you found a haunted game in the woods. Which is supported by the thing that happens in the very, very beginning, where you're just like, what? I to this day, I have not played that game. Immortal came close to being a game that really made me go, wow, I've never played anything like this. But Inscription is truly a unique experience. By the end, you've jumped to a third gameplay mode. Spoiler alert. And by the last thing that is happening, you realize that after a short amount of time, you realize that you're actually not doing anything. Is that too spoilery to say?
No, not at all, because it's incredibly vague. But,
You're
it's
playing
vague
a
enough.
game against
Yeah.
a guy, and then actually, oh wait, no, I'm not. And you don't really become aware of this until a camera angle change happens. Another one.
Yeah.
And it made me literally just like put my controller down and clasp my hands and just be like, this is one of the greatest pieces of art I have ever seen. The person that made this video game so clearly understands video games so well and speaks their language so fluently that he's able to subvert them in a way that I've never seen anyone do before. Like Undertale is probably the closest one, and that really is like a one trick. There's really one specific thing in Undertale that happens with the character Sans,
Right.
where if you do a save scum, he basically calls you on it. Inscription is that moment over and over and over. It's these parts that I really don't want to spoil are these interstitials that happen that add to the meta-ness of this, that add to that haunted demeanor, that add to that dreamlike quality, especially the way it ends like the final interstitial that happens where you're just like, what in the fuck am I playing? Like, what is this? Like,
I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the game really plays with the idea of who's actually playing the game. Are you playing a character in the game, or are you playing yourself playing the game? And it really plays, and I mean, like that's to add to the whole meta-ness of like surrealism as a concept. Like that's even at its very start,
Dan
it's
Mullen's
surrealism
other
like
game,
that.
Pony Island, is the same thing, and it does it in a very similar way, where he'll do this thing where he'll have you play a game for a long time where you're like a disembodied character on a screen, and then all of a sudden you become someone with hands. And it's like, it's such a good way of being like, who are you? Like in Pony Island, the game starts feeling like very flash gamey. It starts like a very newgrounds.com, and a bunch of shit happens. And then at one point there is a dream that happens in the middle of the game. The screen turns white and then it turns unwhite, and you are like an ancient Egyptian man in ancient Egypt, and in front of you is an arcade cabinet that is the game you are playing, and you have hands, and you have to walk up to the arcade cabinet and play it from that perspective for a little bit before jumping back into it. And it's just like in Inscription, he does the same thing. You can get up from the cabin and walk around, but then later with the robot character, you actually can see your arm physically chained to the thing. So you're like, okay, so I'm this guy. I'm playing as this guy. But then there's moments, and this isn't spoiler because it won't when you still see it. There's moments where a disembodied voice will say stuff while you're playing. Like, do you remember Like, the screen will shift back slightly, and you will notice almost like a filter that looks as if the screen has become a TV, and then you'll like hear a guy go like, "God dang it!"
Right,
and then it just pulls back in, and you're like, "Wait, what was that?
What just happened?
Was that me?
Yeah.
Am I
like
that
those,
guy?
Like
am
those
I
Stories Untold games?
Am I a guy playing a guy, or am I just the guy in the game, or am I me playing a guy playing another guy?"
Like, is the game talking to me directly?
Because there are moments where it does, like when it says like,
Yeah.
"Hey, did you know that the name of your C drive is Max blankety blank drive?" And I'm like,
Right.
"Well, yeah, of course you knew that. You're a computer." And it's like, "Man, your picture folder has a lot of pictures in it." Like, just like really uncomfortable. Like, man, I can look at your search history and everything because of your Steam. This is like the kind of stuff. I don't know.
It pulled the Psycho Mantis on you. It reads
pulls the Psycho Mantis
the
over and
nth
over and
extreme.
over and over and over again.
A big one.
Yeah. Not to mention, like I said, I don't know what it's like to play it on console, but there's a moment when you're playing on
Kind of
PC
weird.
where it becomes like a media player. Like, this has to do with those interstitials for a moment, and you're like, wait, did I beat the game, or like what is even this? Like, when you first even get through Heshi's thing, and it's
Mhm.
you're just sitting in the blackness, and you're just like, wait, is the game? I don't have anything all I can do is press start and exit, I guess. Like, is my progress gonna save? Like, I don't know what's gonna
That fucked with
happen.
me. That
It's
fucked with me. I
I
spent like
this
20 minutes
progress
trying to
thing.
figure that out.
me too. Just like going up to every inch of the room, trying to figure out what to do next. And you're like, seemingly, I speak video game language. There's nothing
Right.
in this room to interact with. If I were a gamer, which I am, the only thing I can do is exit. And then you
Right.
do, and then there's a little surprise waiting for you when you get back to the menu screen, and you're just like, what is this?
That's the fun.
It's unlike any it. I feel like I maybe I say that too much, but I truly mean Inscription is unlike any video game I have ever played. It is the most my shit video game ever. I will do a more in-depth spoiler, like I said, when we get to that 100th episode or something. But
That'll be fun.
if you have not played Inscription, I hope I do not think like I say, I can tell you that Vanilla Ice cuts his own head off to become a vampire in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but you simply must see
Sorry?
what I just said in order to really appreciate.
He said, "Go ninja, go ninja, go."
So yeah, if you haven't played Inscription, it's probably like $15 on your console of choice.
Yeah.
If you like, honestly, the other catch is that it's a strategy game too. It really is a strategy card game, and I fucking love strategy card roguelike games. So it's a really fucking good
card game.
And so it's like, not only is it incredibly surreal and just like super meta and just like kind of scary and whatever, it's also a kick-ass TCG game where you collect teeth to win the battles. It's at first,
like that, right?
Yeah, fucking amazing. So yeah, Inscription, go play it. David Lynch, I love you. I feel like you would have loved this game. You would have been like, I see what they're saying about electricity.
And then he would have played other video games and been really disappointed by all of them.
Buck, what game would you like to talk about today? Game or games?
If that's not trippy enough for you, how about we take a trip to post-human, a world where humans no longer exist?
Oh, I love that kind of shit. I love that.
And we'll visit 2015's Helix by Mason Lindroth.
Okay, so I have this game sitting in my Steam library, but I haven't played it. So tell me, sans spoilers. What the fuck is this? This game looks bonkers.
Okay, so Helix is in a claymation cinematograph, however you say that. It's claymation style in a surreal video game world. Yeah, it literally, the art style was described very well by a Rock Paper Shotgun writer, Emily Guerra. It's like a scene from Bosch, the Dutch artist,
right?
By way of David Cronenberg's Videodrome.
Ooh, yucky.
That's the art style of this game. It's a little bit yucky. It's a little bit body dysmorphia. The main character, Wayne, his head is like a moon. Again, this is like post-human. It takes place on this archipelago. Wayne's house has this no spoilers, because Wayne's house has this facility that's like 15 feet away from it that can warp him to another dimension.
Oh, that's fun.
And so you explore the town in adjacent one. I don't even remember why you start exploring, but the main goal they tell you right off the bat is to kill the moon, the king of the moon. You have to kill the king of the moon. We're going to defeat him because he's bad or something.
That sounds like a dream.
I don't even think they give you a reason. And one of the first people
who needs one to kill the king.
That's exactly right. One of the first people you run into after navigating around all the cone cultists is an archaeologist by the name of Dudlesman, who is searching for a paper cup that he can use with all the world's water coolers.
That is fucking awesome. That is fucking amazing.
This game, this game's art style and the way it approaches all of the levels and everything else reminds me if Earthbound and remember those really trippy claymation MTV commercials in like the really early 90s? It's like the two of those had a baby. That's what happens in this game. It's on a world map like any other turn-based RPG. It is a turn-based RPG with on-screen, not randomized encounters. And the battles themselves are Earthbound style, Dragon Warrior style, first-person perspective. You can't see your characters. Does this really weird thing that when you do spells, like these gloved hands come on screen and do motions and whatnot. Amazing. Which is so funny.
It looks like Terry Gilliam hands or whatever, like the Monty Python hands.
Man,
it's so
really
odd.
Like a Terry Gilliam cartoon.
And so you get a couple of characters in your party. It becomes a very traditional RPG in that sense, but everything else is delivered in the most nonsensical way ever. Like, unless an NPC is integral to the story, which none of them are, all of their text is like randomly generated. So it's all just like meaningless garble. Like it just says the stupidest shit. There are these like MTV promo liquid television looking like CRT televisions that you have to find throughout the world that basically give you like this game's version of TMs, like from Pokemon, like special abilities that can only be learned at these stations. You have to go find them. Right. And there's one or two where the abilities are so good, like you really need to get them. But from that, it becomes, you know, in the combat world, this guy's the tank, this guy's like a healer, and your guy's like an all around. It's just everything about it makes no sense whatsoever in the most weird, nonsensical. Like the enemies are all just like less gross versions of Cronenberg, you know, monsters and weird things made of multiple feet and hairballs.
Yes.
All kinds of dumb shit. You find once you get the paper cup when you're helping the archaeologist, you can use that to like replenish, I think, your mana and stuff if you find the water coolers.
My goodness, I have to play this shit.
It's not a very long game.
In a video essay, there just says Gnosticism, and I'm like, I'm sold. Like, you'd say that. Yeah.
It's not
like, dude, yeah.
You don't have hit points. You don't have hit points. You have flesh. And you don't have magic points. You have will.
Oh my god, amazing!
It's all. It has a really cool system where if you die, there's really quick, you know, spawn back, so you don't get It's not frustrating at all, and it's not a super long game. I think you can beat it in like 5 hours.
It's also cheap on Steam. Yeah, it's cheap enough for me to buy and just leave sitting in my library.
Yeah. Which is what, even though I enjoyed this game, that's what Helix 2 has been doing in my library because they did make a sequel in 2020.
Oh, nice!
Isn't there a Helix 3 that's planned?
I don't know. Not yet. I don't think. Yeah. But this game is
a very good one. Yeah, that definitely qualifies.
Oh yeah, no, this is
holy shit.
The wildest shit I've ever seen in my life.
It is pretty creepy. Well, if that wasn't wild enough shit for you, I've got one other wild piece of shit. I mean, no, it's not a piece of shit. It's a wild trip is what it is. And that would be 1999's Vib Ribbon by Nana Onsha.
Good one. That is a good one.
If you guys have never seen this,
I've never played it.
Nano-san is the guy that did Parappa the Rappa and all those games, those musical games. So this is a music game. It is a rhythm game, but it's unlike one you've never seen before. It stars, I think his name is the Ribbon.
The little cute rabbit guy.
It's like vector graphics if you look at it. It's black and white, like vector
one-dimensional.
One-dimensional with the rabbit. And the rabbit moves from left to right, and there's different obstacles. You press different buttons to go through the obstacles. Sometimes two obstacles combine. You have to hit the two corresponding buttons to go through the combined ones. That's the game part of it, right? The trippy part, more than these graphics especially, is this is a rhythm game. So it's all to music. It's all to the tempo of the music and the beat of the music, a la Parappa the Rappa and those games as you're pushing them. But the craziest, coolest feature to this game is you hit the I want to play button, and then it says, what you want to play. You want to play this music? You want to play that music? Or do you want to pop open the drive and have us create a level from your own CD?
Yeah. You could put Beck just in there and just fucking play Loser or whatever.
So it must the engine must load up a generator of sorts because it's gotta be something with
the wave file. Yeah. They must just take like the natural shape of the wave file and turn it into the obstacles.
It finds the beat and it does it, and then but then it will read the CD and play the song. It'll actually play the song using the audio player, built into the PS1, and you actually get to play the level to whatever song, whatever track, and you can tell it, I want to play this whole album, I want to play just one song, I want to
This game is certainly abstract. The bunny character is barely the shape of him. He's so scribbly, but everything
Barely a
else,
bunny.
you're just jumping over the shape a triangle. You know what I mean? You're just
Every
jumping
once in a while,
over.
camera pans around and you see that you're just a line,
Yeah.
basically.
Right.
Like
So
Yeah.
when you
eye
do the
sticking out
songs,
your way.
if you didn't want to play it and you just want to see the song, you can put it on like autopilot, and the rabbit will just go through the level, and that's when it spins around in
Oh.
3D, not to mess with you. It won't do that when you're actually the one playing. It'll
That's
stay on the left
awesome.
or
I
right.
didn't realize that.
So if you just want to watch it, and that's why I say that's surreal, because that's an experience. Putting in like some 90s alternative band CD into that, or some Prodigy into like
Yeah.
Vib Ribbon, and just letting it play Firestarter or something like that.
Just take
like a
some mushrooms and
visualizer.
play Vib Ribbon. Sounds
Kinda,
like
sorta.
time well spent.
Yeah, the biggest bummer is we never actually got Vib Ribbon. They only got it in the Europe and Japan.
That's
Man,
why
what a
I've
bummer.
never played it and only seen it. That makes sense.
Never even
Mhm.
heard
Well,
of it,
that's an
honestly.
excellent one. I would love to play a copy of this fucking game,
Mhm.
honestly.
I think it came out on the PS3 store. I don't know if it's still available, and I don't know how the CD
So cool.
thing works.
All right, Raph. What games? I figure you have honestly quite a cadre to talk through. What games would you like to discuss
Man.
today?
This was hard. Yeah, I had a lot of I had a lot of shit that it was like stuff that's dream stuff that's like emotional. So for my first one, I actually went with something that's a little bit of both. Very subconscious, very emotional, and kind of tragic at times. But I chose Zaum's Disco Elysium.
Oh, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. I haven't beat this game. Just full disclosure, but I played enough of it to really get a feel for what it's all about. And man, I will say, like, Disco Elysium it takes the idea of the subconscious and applies it to RPGs in a way that's very unique and fascinating. I've never really seen a whole lot of games try to do an RPG like this. Like, it's a game with no combat. The combat is conversation. It's all dialogue.
Mhm.
Like, I remember like one of the boss fights, quote unquote, was like trying to talk to like the union boss leader, and I was just like, holy shit, this is a boss fight. It's a conversation that I keep failing at.
Yeah.
But the thing about it
It's
that's
true.
just it provides you with a blank slate of a character, a tabula rasa, if you will. Like you
Wow.
basically, yeah.
Richard Gere, Tabula Rasa.
Tabula rasa, yeah. You're a character with amnesia because you've drunk yourself into oblivion. Harry is a full-on alcoholic, and it's kind of a spoiler to say his name because you spend the first like few hours of the game just trying to figure out who the fuck you are, even. Which is,
This game was so trippy.
It's a
if it's
game
not an
where
analog
you
for life, then that's
literally
the
are
end of
in
it.
discussion with your psychology.
You are.
In the sense that
yeah.
your psyche has been represented separate, like
From you.
voices.
Yeah,
like
right.
there's they all have different personalities and everything, and
they're all separate parts of
talking about-
yourself. They're your stats
Right,
in a lot of
yeah.
ways. You know.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, they're your stats literally, but they're
Literally,
in
yeah, they are.
a more obscure way, they're like guys that are talking to you about like yourself, and which is it's pretty
kind of what we all are. In
But
a
to
lot
say
of
if
ways,
Salvador
yeah.
Dali's melting clocks and his dad standing in the middle of this painting on fire is him trying to talk about his dreams. I
Yeah.
think talking to your necktie, like you said, as is your is like literally
Right,
game
exactly. Like
has-
yeah.
you can increase your intuition by increasing. I forget what the name of the stat is. I think it's Inland Empire, and it kind of makes you more in tune with like
which is the name of a
inanimate
David Lynch
objects.
movie.
It is the name of a David Lynch movie. I think this is a very Lynchian game in some ways, especially because you're solving a murder, much like Twin Peaks.
Ooh, good point.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of one of the reasons I picked it. I was like, oh shit, this is very, very Lynchian. You're trying to solve a murder. You're the super detective, literally super detective. Like you're a super cop. Like that might actually is one of the
Yeah.
archetypes that you can pick.
Kind of, right.
Right.
You can also
but-
choose to be like a what's it called, like a supernatural sort
can.
of like this is
Right.
also
That's
very
what Inland
Dale
Empire
Cooper.
does. It makes you more in tune with that
So
kind
cool.
of stuff.
But no game will immerse you more than this game because
Right.
of the amount of dialogue. I mean, when he says dialogue is the combat, the assistant guy that's like you meet at the very beginning,
one of the best characters
nerdy,
ever.
Asian dude,
Yeah.
I just looked it up. He spent 8 months and recorded 350,000 lines of dialogue for that game.
I believe it. There's so much great and unique dialogue in this game.
That's one character. That's one person, and every character is fully voiced over in that game.
It's full of characters in another like very Lynchian sort of. It's full of very unique, interesting characters that all have very unique and interesting things to say.
It fleshes the world out, and then the world itself is very surreal in its strangeness, its absurdity, and whatnot.
It weirdly reminds me a lot of Voltaire's Candide, in that it's, you know, you're not playing this character that's trying to find the best of all possible, you know, trying to like find the good in the world, but you are, it does teach you about the world that we live in a lot of ways. It satirizes it through the absurdism of political, scientific ideology and social ideology. It takes all of these ideas and kind of makes them like it really criticizes every single form of political thought. Like you can make yourself a full-on Marxist-Leninist, or you can make your character a full-on fascist if you want to. It's pretty funny. Like it's just great comedy. I've never laughed so hard. There was a scene where you're talking to somebody, and I forget what it was, like this lady in a wheelchair, and she's talking about her missing husband, and she's like, oh, there's nobody special in your life, and then you can choose the option to go, not yet, wink, or you can go, not yet, wink, wink, and you can wink a second time. I chose to wink a second time, and my subconscious said, what the fuck was that second wink? That was the exact line. I burst out fucking laughing at this game. But also this game can go to scenes of extreme, you know, like emotion and tragedy. Like when they talk about Harry's past, and your subconscious gets deep into Harry's mind. And at one point there's a discussion that your character has with himself about that horrible day that might come in the future. And it's kind of implied that Harry may or may not end his own life. And that one time I was playing that and it fucking hit me like a brick. I was just like, holy shit, that is one of the saddest. Just it hit me really hard, and I just started fucking sobbing while I was playing this game. I was like, that is powerful. Anybody who's experienced any kind of depression can kind of feel that. But yeah, it just takes every aspect of life and reality and just shows it to you in this like really absurd and kind of funny little way, kind of like Voltaire's Candide.
It's in like a absurdist future too, which I like.
Right. Like, yeah. This like
took me a while to figure out where we were.
Yeah.
Right.
Really
right.
Good.
Very French. Although it's an Estonian developer, I believe.
Brazil or whatever. You know,
it reminds me a lot of Brazil. Yeah. This like post revolutionary failed revolution sort of like a neoliberalist society. It's very interesting. Really fascinating game. I fucking love it. But moving on, there is another game, or not another game, but I also wanted to talk about another developer, which I played Growing My Grandpa on stream, which was a lot of fun. I beat that game on stream.
The name of the game is
Growing My Grandpa. Let me read a list of like the games that this guy has made. Let me just read a couple of them. Growing My Grandpa, right? There's The Well, not that weird, but then there's Discover My Body. Then there's Discover Our Bodies. Then there's Father Turned Me into Trees and Rivers.
After discovering my body.
Yeah. Lips Like Vellum, Via Negativa, and Water Womb World, which is my favorite one.
Do you pick games based on just odd names or...
Yeah, sometimes I do, honestly. If I see a game with a weird like metal band like kind of like name, I'm like, hell yeah, let's fucking roll with it. But the developer, I didn't even say the name of the guy. The guy's name is Yames. You can find him on Patreon. Patreon on itch.io. It's pantagruel.itch.io. But Water Womb World in particular is the one that kind of stands out to me because it's such a unique idea and it's very short. It's like 15 minutes long. But he makes games that at their core are really just visual novels. They're visual novels that are usually 15 to 30 minutes in length. Growing My Grandpa was a little longer. I played that on stream. It took me about 3 hours to beat. But the surreal aspect of it comes into play in the way that James introduces his worlds. He uses words that are real, words that I've heard before, but in the context that he uses them and the way that he combines them are wholly unique and terrifying. The word that always comes up is Adamite skull. Like I think about that and I'm like, what the fuck does that word mean? Right? Adamite in relation to Adam and Eve, and a human skull meaning a human skull from the dawn of time. Like that's fucking weird and fascinating, isn't it? Yeah. Angels in Water Womb World are these horrifying, many-eyed, many-tentacled creatures that are horrors beyond comprehension. And they come to you, and it's the way your characters deal with the strangeness. They just accept it like it's nothing. And that's
Right.
fucking terrifying.
Right, you have
right?
to feed Grandpa through the zipper hole in his face wound or whatever, and you're
And the
just like,
character you're
"That's
playing.
Now
Grandpa."
I remember
Yeah.
watching you play
Yeah,
this
yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
You
Water
gotta
for the
teach,
world.
you gotta teach Grandpa how to talk
my
and shit,
Yeah,
and you do
dude,
it by
that shit
like
was so
shaking his vocal cords manually.
He's just like,
horrifying.
it makes me want to throw up the entire time I was playing
so funny.
Yeah.
It's
All of
truly
the games are
surreal,
like
yeah.
this.
That is
Horrifying,
Lynch shit.
surreal body horror. Honestly, two really great games. As games are fantastic. Disco Elysium is just this deeply personal experience that I absolutely love, and those are my games.
Fantastic.
The funny thing is, we named like a bunch of games that I have beaten.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I mean, I beat Inscription, I beat Helix, I beat Disco Elysium. I played all these to completion, so I must like this genre on some level.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, dude.
Well, let's go ahead and take a quick break. I think that's enough for our Surrealist games. David Lynch, rest in peace. I'm sure you have become electricity and are running through people's TVs now, absorbing their soul energy to convert into something to do with the third place or the red room,
Beautiful, actually.
or something like this. Or
I
what is
love
they
that.
like the guy eats macaroni and cheese in the cellar above the
Oh no, is
clam chowder.
No, it was creamed corn.
Cream corn. He eats
Creamed
cream corn in the attic.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You were insane and I love you. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do our what else you got and go ahead and pack up and head on out.
And so you just stay alert, do your work, don't worry about the world going by. It doesn't mean that you can sit around and not do anything. You've got to get your butt in gear and do it. And don't take no for an answer. Translate those ideas to cinema or to a painting or to whatever, and figure out a way to get it done.
All right, what else you got, guys? The segment of our show where we can bring anything to the table, be it video game or otherwise. This week, I want to talk about a video game. Tish and I have been playing not a new video game. I know I'm late to the party, but we have been playing Overcooked 2.
Oh, fun.
Oh yeah.
I
often
slept
have
on
you
this
yelled at one
game for
another?
so long, huh?
How often have you yelled at one another?
Oh, the entire time. Oh, God. At first, it starts out so normal, and you're like, oh, video game. And then after a while, it becomes like an actual kitchen. Like, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This is
Give me
fucked
the
up.
bacon, burn the bacon together. Take
So, yeah.
Turn it around.
It's on Game Pass, and so we were looking for a 2-player game to play, and it was like, this is 2-player, and we do have fun with it. But and you know what? I'll say there are certain levels that are harder than others. There are certain levels where it's just like, oh, this is kind of hard, and other ones where you're like, okay, well, this is just. It suffers from that thing I hate, which is just like couldn't think of a good idea, huh? Your idea was make it really hard. Yeah, that's really a fun original idea. No one's ever thought of that. Wow. No one's ever thought of, hey, what if we made it impossible to do?
Nope.
Yeah. Instead of just creative and fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. We are on the last leg of levels. And I'm sure we'll beat it within the next sitting or two. And then I wanted to talk about the movie that I saw today. Instead of playing the Stanley Parable like I should have, I went and saw The Presence, the new, I think it was A24, or maybe it was Neon. I can't remember. It's not.
What'd you
good.
think of it?
It's not good.
I had a feeling you weren't gonna like it. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but it doesn't look that great. It looks like a cool idea, but
And
the
there's
premise,
the review.
The premise is that it's a ghost story told from the perspective of the ghost, basically.
Oh,
So I saw In a Violent Nature last year, and if you watch that episode where I talk about that, I was like highly praised. I was like, this is a good ass movie.
that was fun.
It understands its subject material and is like just sort of like doing a parody of it. This movie just didn't understand they do too much exposition into the lives of the people that aren't the ghosts. Like it needed to be more about the ghosts, and then there's like a twist ending at the very end that was just like, huh? Wait, the ghost is who? Are you sure about that? I don't think that was a good idea.
The best you had, huh?
I was riding home with Eric, and I was like, I think I have this like reverse rating system, basically, where it's a I have a size per movie like meter where it's just like I get like this movie got like 35 size out of me. Like just like
Oh, I see which is size.
Just like,
Okay.
oh my
I meant
god.
size,
Just
like how big is it?
no,
Yeah, me too.
sigh,
I was like,
SIGA,
size? What the
just
fuck
like
you mean? Like the
oh my god,
understand
just
now.
like this, and like Nosferatu got like 10 size out of
Oh,
me.
geez.
Like, you know what I
said
mean?
this movie got how many?
This movie got like 30 size. Like I was just like everything. It was just like
yeah.
way too much downtime. The first scene has some great moment where you're like, oh wow. It's like where it's like the movie begins and it's like you're like clearly the perspective of a ghost, and you're like flying through this house at a strange pace and a strange smoothness, and it's just like it's as if a ghost is taking its first tour of the new place that it is haunting. And it was like, ooh, this is cool. But then it proceeds to be mostly about the lives of these people that are just overwritten with bad actors. So it's just like, Jamie, I'm your dad and I love you. And as your dad, I'm never going to forget you. When I first saw eyes on you when your birthday on May 16th, I knew I'd be a good dad forever. And the thing is about being a dad is I know your mom's a little crazy, and you're like, isn't this movie about a ghost? Like, isn't there a ghost? And they're like, there's literally the way you're seeing this is that apparently the ghost is just standing over them the whole time while they're having this conversation like this.
That's fucking cheap.
And you're like,
That's
just
fucking
it's like they couldn't think
cheap.
of anything cool for the ghost to do. And
That's
instead of being like,
dumb.
what's some interesting stuff that a ghost might catch in your house that you wouldn't think about? Like, oh yeah, a ghost,
No.
like a ghost watches me. I don't know. Like I don't know. You wouldn't take some work. Just be like, what if you thought about like a ghost watching you go to the bathroom, or a ghost, I don't know, like
That's
ghost
what would
watching you.
actually be going on.
Right,
You know,
exactly. Like if this movie really wanted to take a really serious tone about being a movie about a family being haunted by a ghost, then it needed to be about the ghost. It's like how in A Violent Nature that like they have the scenes where they like pass by the teenagers and you hear them talking
Right.
about their bullshit,
right.
and it checks out, like what they're saying sounds like slasher shit. So you're
Right.
like, okay,
Oh,
but
yeah,
then they're
straight.
like, that's not the point. Let's move on.
Right.
And then they just like keep walking.
Right.
That's what this movie needed to do, and it doesn't do it. And so
Bummer.
I would not suggest going to see it. I would probably give it a 2 out of 5.
Ooh, bummer.
Oh damn! All
It
right.
was really not good.
Okay.
Buck,
Yeah.
what else have you got for us?
I got two, so I got a quick one because then I'm going to gush about MagFest.
Nice.
We technically recorded this before the end of the month, so it totally counts. Oh wait, it's going to come out before the end of the month too. I played and beat an FMV this month.
Yay!
Start off
All
my
right.
New Year's resolution. I played Press X Not to Die, and the
And?
premise of this game is to press X so that you don't die.
Ah.
Seems pretty. straightforward.
Watching this game made me go, oh my god, me and Matt could totally make an FMV game. We could do this.
Whoa, that'd be so fun.
It literally is like you start out, say your friend, and he says, Steven, buddy, there's this something like a zombie or virus or something other thing, but I figured out how you beat it. You press X to not die, and then immediately someone runs up your stairs and tries to stab you, and you hit X and you don't die, and then he kills Steven, and you go, oh no, Steven, and he's like, I didn't press X fast enough. And you're like, that was your tutorial on the whole game.
Whoa.
And it proceeds to be a sequence of FMV things where it changes the buttons that you press. And, it's not just always X, but that's the joke.
Right.
And the whole premise is that basically there's been a biological weapon leak that's turned people into gamers playing QuickTime events. But only gamers' brains are
That's really
wired.
fun.
Only gamers'
so
brains
good.
are wired to do it. So it doesn't affect some people. And we're okay, and we're stuck in the world now, and our games are wired. Like the girlfriend does kung fu. You're like, yeah, because the virus, and she's a gamer and whatever else. But the people that aren't gamers, their brains can't handle it, so they turn into like rage zombies, and they're trying to kill everybody.
That's awesome.
Not a very long game like most FMV games. It had some fun where it's like it's self-awareness, where like you do something and then you die, and then you'd go back to the save that was like 20 seconds ago, and your girlfriend would be like, huh, you just got here, huh? But you already died. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. She didn't say that the first time. She said it because I had just died in like the following
Hey.
scene. It was fun. But it was a fun game, neat little game, not very expensive, but I love the FMV game.
Press X not to die.
There you go. Music. Video game music is music. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Internet?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Video game music is music. And MagFest was this
Whoa,
past
chili
weekend, boys.
dog.
Here's my swag from this year's MagFest. If you don't know, the
beautiful.
Music and Gaming Festival is held every January in National Harbor, Maryland. It's a ginormous nerd fest of celebrating music and video games. It's the only place where you can listen to video game music bands all weekend long, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Yep, we got my swag here.
Gorgeous.
This year. It is in the shape of a chili dog because the theme was Sonic the Hedgehog. For my first time ever, this was so cool. This has all kinds of fun games and
Can
all
you
normal
play
swag stuff.
Sonic on that thing by any chance? No, right? Not a chance.
No, because they decided to put a Chow Garden in it instead.
Oh, baby.
The
That's
Doom
what's
one
up.
had Doom on it and lots of other ones, but it has lots of other fun mini games, including a Chow Garden. Yes.
That is amazing.
So it had lots of great Sonic stuff. The first time ever, this was super cool. This is not normally part of your swag. Kids out there, if you're watching you in a MagFest and you went, what's that? I don't have one of those. That's because one of the engineering team for Dr. Garbotnik found me and added a little add-on piece to my swag.
Whoa, what the hell does it do?
It connects onto the swag, onto the here, into this, because it's just a printed circuit board, and it lights up in the same sequence along with the rest of my swag. It adds extra lights and extra swag to my
Cool.
swag. So I got cool extra swag. And when it
Okay.
started up the first time, it went MagFest.
Oh, that's
Whoa.
awesome.
Damn.
Really quickly, I'm going to show you guys all the fun stuff that I got in my swag bag. I got some tattoos, Sonic tattoos,
Adorable.
and a koozie, which is fun.
Sick.
Came in a really neat Sonic kind of themed bag. MagFest bag
Beautiful,
this
little
year.
Sonic Mania colors.
Yep. If you like to sleep, you can be Sonic the Hedgehog with your sleeping mask.
Holy shit.
That's so
Is
cute.
this like the VIP package thing?
This is like
that
the
you got
middle one. I don't usually get the
middle one?
biggest one. I get the middle one.
God,
The
I wanna
highest
go to
one
this
has a lot
next
more
year.
cool shit. I had like the middle one. It was super cool. Their logo, their mascot is always like a ripoff every year of things, so they don't get sued. So this was Pango, the pangolin was the mascot. Here was a little toy of him.
Did it.
He's got to go fast.
Pango.
But of course, my Pango the pangolin, I have my little box here. That's a little snack though. Do not eat your pangolin snack. But by the way, someone in the factory messed up the eyeballs. A joke on the Sonic
That's
the Hedgehog
awesome.
ice cream
Ice
that
cream.
always has the goofy
Love
bubblegum
that.
eyes. And of course, no MagFest bag would be complete without. This is still sealed, and I know why, because it's an air freshener that I'm sure smells like a chili dog if I were to
Holy
open it.
shit. That's fucking amazing. That's
The,
pretty surreal if I do
this
say
is
so
pretty fun.
myself.
Yeah.
There was some cool
Chili
stuff.
dog air freshener is
I got-
something that
you
you
should put that
see
in
at
your car.
Meow Wolf.
For sure. I got my shirt here, which I haven't worn yet, but my MagFest shirt for this year.
Nice, beautiful.
I bought a Super Strikers shirt, which I'm going to talk about them in a second real
Sick.
quick.
Mhm.
And I bought the Arcadian CD, but I bought more something. You're going to love this, Mac. I bought this from a vendor, and he said, yeah, I originally bought it thinking like I was making this for me and like 5 people, and then it like sells out pretty well. This is a shirt I bought.
1 + 2 + 1 + 1 from Clue.
Yeah. Yes.
That's amazing.
I asked him. Super fun. So merch, yeah, fun. Every con has that kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever. But the music at MagFest, holy crap. So
Really
I'm just
good.
going to highlight for you a couple of my favorite musical acts and a
Mhm.
couple of my con highlights. The first one was Super Strikers. I've been excited to see these guys. Super Strikers is the house band for a Japanese music label. And this label's entire goal, I'll send Max some music to play a couple tracks over top of this we're playing. Their entire goal is to get old video game composers to make new music. So their albums will be a mix of remixes of old games, and then the composer from like Gimmick, that really popular Japanese and European NES game that we never got, he was actually there at this and performed saxophone live with them on stage. They got the Mega Man 2 composer on one of their albums to make a new track for one of their albums.
Wow.
And then they cover things from like that and like Panzer Dragoon and other things. Their music is absolutely phenomenal. But it's MagFest, so it's got to get better from there, right? It's not just great video game music. It's way out there video game music. So they bring on this guy named the Arcadian to do a couple songs with them, Super Striker, who immediately became my favorite artists of the whole weekend. So I sent you a link in there, Mac and Raph also there too, to the no, this is not the Key and Peele sketch. This is the actual 1991 National Aerobics Championship theme, Champions by Ty Barr.
Yeah, that was so funny.
That's actually the song they played in the Key and Peele sketch. Well, they played a mashup of that and We Like Sports by Lone Young.
That's what it was. I was like, I feel like I've heard this, but I can't put my finger on what this is. That's so
From
funny.
shooting hoops to the Super
The
Bowl.
National Aerobic Championship.
It's so good. So this guy Arcadian has like a darling voice. Like he sounds just like this guy Ty Parr. I can send you his version. So I'm like, okay, I really enjoyed him. He's doing a solo act the next day. I'm gonna go see it. So I go to see his act, and this guy plays like Nightmare on Elm Street for the NES, which was David Wise, by the way, like Donkey Kong Country, David Wise, and some Marble Madness, a couple of things. Then he plays the theme from Monster Squad, like the 80s movie Monster Squad.
Okay, yeah, the Wolfman has nards.
Then he does the Monster Bash from the Pinball Machine Monster Bash, which I've owned in the past and absolutely love. And then this fucking guy does a cover of Night Trap from Night Trap.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was a song called Night Trap in Night
That's
Trap.
when we covered our Sega CD episode. We talked about how all the girls are dancing in the living room and they're listening to the song. That is the song Night Trap from Night Trap. But not only does this guy have a great voice,
bunch of girls in a net night trap.
He's singing that song. It's actually a really good song, and he has a really good voice. I'm watching this, I'm going, man, did we just become musical best friends? Like this guy just hit every chord of like every, all this stuff that I absolutely love. So I picked up his CD, which includes his cover of Night Trap on it, amongst other amazing tracks. We listen to him. You can listen to this music. Hopefully Mac plays some over, but the guy has an amazing voice and shoots for like late 80s metal in most of the stuff that he does. So it's pretty cool. They had a Gifinator this year, which was a green screen where you could make yourself into a GIF. You didn't get to pick the prompt. It would give you a random prompt, and mine randomly said, do your mutant power. I was wearing my Cyclops hoodie already, so I shared with Mac the GIF of me doing my mutant power that we put in there too. There was an environmental Densha de Go arcade machine. That's where you drive the Japanese rail line as the conductor, and you have a full control panel in front of you. There were a million Dr. Robotniks because it was a Sonic the Hedgehog themed as well, and they were all wonderful. But that was the absolute best. MagFest is always a blast. Always have fun. Worst day of the year is the day after MagFest because that means MagFest is a year away.
I definitely need to go next year.
You would love it because everybody like gets your sense of gaming humor and whatnot. Like me and Grayson have been watching Aqua Teen. My son, I said, okay, you're done with this show. You're going to watch Aqua Teen now. And I say that because on day 2, I saw 2 guys cosplaying as Dr. Weird and his assistant. Like, what fucking year did that show come out? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Raph, what else have you got for us this week, sir?
I've got a few things. So as of actually literally today, I pre-ordered a while back. I pre-ordered Virtual Fighter 5 Revo, the Steam release for with the rollback netcode and everything that released today. I just installed it. Haven't had a chance to touch it yet. Cool. So I'm excited for that. Earlier this week, Doom: The Dark Ages was announced. The date for it. It's coming, I think, in May 15th. So I went ahead and I played Doom 2016 on stream the other day. I had a fucking blast because I haven't played that game in like at least 10 years or so. I want to say, or just about, because that was 2016. Yeah, just a little less than 10 years.
Yeah, if you played it when it came out, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then also 2 cool things. Dwarf Fortress Adventure Mode finally dropped. Something I've been excited about for the longest time. I played it this week and I immediately got myself killed by a bunch of wolves and I had a blast doing it. Good shit, dude. Good shit. Also an update really quick on my New Year's resolution. I am on the cusp of pushing Ryu into bronze. All right. I've gone from rookie to iron, and I'm at
Cool.
iron level 4. I'm right there, but man, I keep getting my ass kicked by other bronze players, man. These guys are good. They know what the fuck they're doing, but I'm gonna get there. I swear.
People online in fighting games are ridiculous.
I was gonna say, Raph's new to really doing fighting games, but he's like, people in bronze know what they're doing.
Dude, I mean, well, they know what I'm doing
Top
better than
later,
I
yeah.
do. Like they can read me. They can read me a lot better than I can read them. That's just, I'm noticing the limitations that I have when I've gotten to this point. I was like slapping ass in iron, but like now when I'm hitting the bronze people, man, they're getting tough. That just means I gotta get better.
Oh, that's funny.
That means I just gotta get better, right? But yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, excellent. Well, then that means that is the end of our show. Thank you so much for listening or watching, listener or watcher. Do us a huge favor, like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you are just listening to this on your favorite podcast app, may I please suggest that you head on over to our YouTube channel. Catch us there, because we have streams that we do every week, as Raph just mentioned. So please go there to check us out. You can reach out to us with any questions, comments, or games that you want us to try. We're backlogged on those. GameTreasurePodcast@gmail.com. You can head over to our merch store to get awesome designs on cups and shirts and all that jazz. And most importantly, make sure to go over to our Patreon.com/the GTP to unlock our UFO 50 deep dive bonus content in there. We're going to record that next episode of that within the next couple days, hopefully. You can find links to all that stuff at our linktree/the GTP. That'll be in our comments of this, or not comments, but the description of this video. You'll find that link. We want to thank Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids. You can find them on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere you find music on the internet. And of course, we would like to thank RetroGameTreasure.com, owned and operated by the Megabuck himself. Retro Game Treasure is a subscription service that sends you bespoke boxes of video games every month. That's right, these video games will be tailored to fill out your collection. You simply go to www.retrogametreasure.com, subscribe, fill out your personal preference settings. So you basically tell them what game consoles you have and what kind of games you like to play. It's things like genre and a bunch of parameters, so you can get really fine-tuned with it. And then that way, every week, the box of games that you get will only be filled with those types of games. I don't know if any other service does that, so that's really cool. So I recommend that you begin collecting video games the easy way today with RetroGameTreasure.com. Buck, would you like to hit me with this week's new subscribers, sir?
This week we welcome BJ Hammonds, David Holman, Benjamin Wickham, Robert Benvidez, John Frazier, and David Dodd.
Excellent work, gentlemen. Thank you for subscribing. It means a lot. Until next week, my name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure Podcast. It's so bad.
It's so bad.